Hello everyone, welcome to part 4 of this Excel tutorial. Today we are going to discuss how we can create formula, what is cell referencing, what are the different types of cell referencing, and what is the difference between operators and functions. So let us just dive right in. But before that, if you haven't still subscribed and if you're liking the content of this channel, kindly subscribe. As discussed in the last formula, we have created this format and let us just see what are the different elements of a formula. So in a formula we have three things. First is the cell reference, second is operators, and the third is function. So what is a cell reference? So as discussed in the previous video, cell is nothing but intersection of column and row. So every cell has a particular address. So this cell is A1 and then this is B1, this is C1, this is C2, this is C3 and so on. I am just writing what will be the formula here. So cut percentage is nothing but cut quantity divided by ship quantity. Okay. So now if we have to create a formula for this, the first thing that we need to do is press equal to. So when we press equal to, Excel identifies that this is going to be a formula. Now the first thing that we need to understand is what is a cell reference. So if I click cut quantity, for this row, you can see that it is showing me the cell reference as G5 because the address of this cell is G5. And now I can press this division symbol. This is nothing but an operator. Division is an operator. So division operator, now we have to divide it by the ship quantity. So if I click, it has to be order quantity. Just a correction. This is cut percentage is cut quantity divided by order quantity. Okay. So G5 is cut quantity and F5 is order quantity. So this is a simple formula that we have created. Now this same formula has to extend to other places as well. So what we can do is we can just click drag up to the end. So it has given the formula to all the places. So we have used two things right now in this formula. First is cell reference, which is nothing but address of the cell, and then operators. So operators are nothing but symbols like plus, minus, division, and multiplication. So asterisk is the sign for multiplication. So this is what sum is. Now there is another thing. Let us just do the sum of the order quantity here. So if I have to do the sum of order quantity, I will press equal to and then F5 plus F6 plus F7 plus this. This gives me a sum. This is one way of doing a sum. Another way of doing a sum is if I press equal to and click on sum, I get a lot of functions. Function is nothing but a program which is predefined in Excel and it performs a specific action. So sum is a function which gives us the sum of the range which we have passed to it. So if I write sum, it gives me a syntax. What should be the syntax of that formula? Now it says first comes the number 1, then number 2. So this is my number 1. Then it says there is a comma. So I'll put a comma, then number 2, then a comma, or I can just drag. I can select a range. Instead of writing individually, I can just select a range. So sum, if I do F5 to F8 and I press enter, it also gives me the same result. So this is the difference between operators and a function. So plus also is the right way of doing it, but there is another way which is using a function. So function is nothing but predefined set of operations. So we can call different functions to perform a specific set of actions. Some common functions are sum, VLOOKUP, index and match, and average, etc. So there are a lot of different functions. When you start working on Excel, you will find that for most of the regular usage, there are functions available. All you can do is you have to go to Google and find out what is the right function to use, and you can use that function. So this is what a simple basic formula writing involves. Another important thing to know here is address of the cell. It could be for of two types. It could be dynamic or absolute. Okay. Now here, if you remember, earlier what we did was we created a formula for the first row and we dragged it. As soon as I drag it to the next row, this changes. For the first row, it was referencing the fifth row, G5 and F5. For the second row, it is referencing G6 by F6. So it is very clear, if I increase the row number for the formula, the reference inside the formula is also changing. So this kind of referencing, cell reference, is called dynamic because this is changing based on the location of the formula. So if I copy this formula and if I press this here, I paste this here, it is giving me error because there is no data here, but we can see that the cell reference is also changing. I can demonstrate it at other places as well. If I copy it here and I press it here, you can see that it is changing. So based on the change in the position of the formula, the reference inside that formula also changes. This is called dynamic referencing. So by default, if you are just giving a cell reference, it is dynamic. So if you drag this, because the position changes relative to this, it is changing appropriately and we don't get any error. We are happy with this. But what happens if I want to write another formula here? Suppose I have to calculate ship percentage as well, and the formula for ship percentage is nothing but ship quantity divided by order quantity. Now the formula is same. So if I drag this from here to here, is it correct? Let's just see. So if I check the formula now, ship quantity is correct, H5 divided by cut quantity. Now instead of order quantity, it is referencing cut quantity because we changed the location of the formula. We increased the column number. So inside the cell reference also, one column was increased. So earlier when it was referencing F5, now it is referencing G5 because from I5 we have moved the formula to J5. Now we don't want this to happen. We want only the ship quantity to increase, but we don't want the column number for the order quantity to change. So what we can do in this cut percentage formula is we can write an dollar symbol. So dollar symbol, when we write in front of the cell reference, it makes the cell reference absolute. That means even if the location of the formula changes, the cell reference doesn't change. So I'll add a dollar sign in front of this. Now, if I move this to ship percentage, you can see that order quantity F is correct. So F is still F. Even though I have changed the column of the formula, the cell reference inside the formula has not changed. But what happens if I drag this down? If I drag this down, will the row number for the order quantity is going to change? Let's just check. If I click here, we see that the row number is correct. Why is that? This is because we added dollar symbol in front of column number, but we did not add dollar function in front of the row. So that is why row is changing, but the column is not changing. If I would have made a dollar symbol here as well, and I press on enter, if I drag this down here, no matter what is the position of the formula, F5 is never going to change because we have fixed the column number as well and the row number as well. Let us just see what happens if we paste it somewhere here. So if I paste it here, let us just see what is it referencing. You can see that here, because For this we did not put a dollar sign, so this is changing, the numerator is changing, but the denominator, because dollar was there both for the column and the row, it is fixed. So this is called absolute. This is a very important concept while creating formula, because we need to make sure that when we are dragging the formula or we are adding some rows inside the formula, the formula doesn't get changed. So a very important concept. Now in coming sections, we are going to dive deeper into functions, but as of now, let us just understand that formula can be created by either by mathematical operators where applicable, and for certain specific functions there are already functions, pre-programmed functions available which can be used. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video.